Welcome to Finding Peace in the Pandemic. In today's world, peacefulness is rare, but Mym Tuma, who has been painting for over 50 years, uses images from nature to inspire and emphasize finding peace. Let's talk to the artist and find out how she tried to accomplish this.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. In my experience, peacefulness exists in my paintings. This was my goal. So we're going to cut through the noise, and we are going to look at these 10 paintings that were chosen and curated by Henry Geldzahler for my exhibition in Bridgehampton.
So let's talk about Sleeping Rock, World Ocean. So here we see water, one element in this pastel, as subterranean as an underground stream, as dark and fertile as the womb.
Indeed. And as the green sea, you see it here. Now, my original inspiration for this was a boulder that was on a cliff high above the ocean, and I could see it in the sunlight. It was beautiful, and I thought of it as golden, even though it was just a rough-hewn rock. And yes, I painted it with the idea of abstracting its energy. I related to it, and that actually pulled my energy out too. And that is what I do every time. I use a subject in nature that becomes a springboard, and I can speak about it at the same time. It's a statement of my energy.
In a poem, you wrote something I really liked that said, the rock that cannot breathe is and always will exist.
It's a monument
of eons past.
Yes. It speaks of history. And if the grains were counted, it would tell us when material life began. That goes way back, millions of years.
So let's talk about the rim of the sunflower, 40 by 60 inches. I noticed this is the only acrylic painting in contrast to all of the Radiant Energy series, all 10 pastels. But how truly fine that you sold this pastel to Janet Laird, the renowned gallerist in New York, for your show called Organic Abstraction.
Yes, we know it's in very good hands in Manhattan. Janet told me something I'll never forget. She said, "When I think of your art with O'Keeffe alone, without Geldzahler's stamp of approval, it's almost unbelievable."
Yes, the fact that Geldzahler curated an exhibition of your work establishes the seriousness of the level of creative quality of your art. He was an essential voice supporting your worth and the value of collecting your works.
Thank you. We must talk about bees now, because flowers rely on insects to carry pollen from one plant to the next. So here, this rim of the sunflower is an explosion of petals arranged in a radiating pattern that we know may attract these insects' attention.
Perhaps the spontaneity of the artist choosing radial patterns and responding to them as you did is somewhat like the emperor bee.
This shows the packing in a dry head here that I have in my hand. The radial shape is the sunflower, and it mirrors our energy in nature. It seeks the way to accomplish the most with the least.
That's true. Just gazing at this is a meditative experience. It's as calming as gazing at a candle flame, enjoying essential oils.
Right.
Your exhibit in 1992 at the Clayton Liberator Gallery in Bridgehampton exhibited 10 pastels that you call essential forms.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Now, Henry, the first curator of 20th century contemporary painting at the Metropolitan, understood the essence of radiant energy. And in our conversations, what resonated with him was, he said, all of them elevate my spirit.
And moving into the seed dreaming of leafing.
Often, I'm isolated in the beginning, focusing on how to assemble my energy, of which I'm only remotely aware. While I'm preparing to paint, many of these larger pastels And here, in fact, we do see the story of birth.
What are their dimensions?
Well, I go by increments. I start with it small, maybe 12 by 18. And if I really have the passion for that work, I might go to 24 by 30. Finally, on Reeves' paper, this is an excellent example of reaching what I consider a fulfillment in that statement. So we have essentially the story of birth, and the seed is whole, and the root has potential, bringing my passion for abstraction to life. And here I'm holding this seedling sprouted in liquid in a jar. I wish you could see it.
It's a small universe, an embryo.
Yes, and when I hold this jar up to the light, imagine my thrill at seeing the leaf emerge within the seed. It's stored inside, and I imagine it to be becoming a green leafy part that would grow into 2 leaves that emerges into the sunlight.
This is the wind poppy. Tell me about wind poppies.
Well, I saw this delicate wind poppy in a field, gently moving in the breeze. But it changed as I sketched it, and one of the petals fell to the ground. And it reminded me of how short a lifetime really is, to look at the plant momentarily. So I wrote this poem in its voice. I said, I am the wildflower, blooming for a few days in the light of the sun, in the life of its power. And you can read that poem in the Radiant Energy catalog.
I like the way this experience for you segues to the philosophy of appreciating blissful moments as they come, because we never know how long this will last.
Absolutely. Perpetual cyclamen.
Yeah, moving into the perpetual cyclamen. These are the flowers that people buy to say get well, to take them into the hospitals or similar situations.
I've seen them often in hospital rooms, and they are beautiful, and they make people happy. I just love the simplicity of the blossom. And I isolated it here in a pastel, 30 by 22, and I hope that we can focus here on the foliage as well.
This is the abstract morning glory sunrise.
Focused on evoking interior light within a landscape that exists mysteriously within the flower. That inner glow of light makes the image breathe, functioning on its own power. And this is not simply a decorative image.
To me, this emulates the way the sun radiates from within a clear blue sky. Incidentally, this painting reflects how large flowers make radial patterns as they reach out to attract pollinating insects. Here is Spiritus, the breath, the whorls of 2 lilies. I like that they compare and contrast because the word spirit embodies the sum total of all of our aspirations.
Indeed, spirit permeates space in ways large and small, as we've said before. And in the summer coastal light and warmth, where life thrives at a peak along the water, these were dark green plants, the calla lily, the growth activity and the interaction were at a peak along that place in the coastline where I lived in a house, and these plants grew abundantly.
Let's talk about how you came to abstract from the summer squash blossom.
Well, I had a vine in my studio, and one afternoon I thought, we'll just draw this beautiful summer squash. However, I didn't go to it right away. And so night came and it closed up, and I thought, well, that's the end. I missed my chance. I won't see it again. However, the next morning I was quite surprised to walk in and see this beautiful yellow squash flower waiting for me that had opened to the sunlight streaming in through the door. And that's when I sat down and I did the pastel drawing 30 by 22. And so I have learned over and over again that the life cycle nature has offered us, it differs for each species, but we have it. It's a consistent program. as I've said before too about the genes, that is the basis of the garden. Not necessarily the flowers, but the genes and the seeds.
These discussions really get you thinking of different events that take place. Here is the petunia in its stem, an example of the open, abstract shape Henry selected for the 1992 exhibition.
Yes, there are 12 species of petunias, and as a matter of fact, they are all natives of South America. And they have small leaves and large solitary flowers. The calyx is 5-toothed, and funnel-shaped corolla is white. Their form floats like a butterfly. That, in fact, butterflies visit this flower more than others for the nectar. And the petunia's growth is from the way forces affect the materials, the light, the warmth, the water, and the environment. And so I found painting their different aspects in another series of white pastel blossoms.
Sunrise Fig Shell is the only shell pastel in your Radiance series.
Absolutely. I chose gray BFK Reeves, a soft French paper with tooth that feels just like butter on my fingertips. Red, ochre, and yellow colors smoothed over the surface as if tooling on velvet. Rubbing that paper was opening the door to my heart, and in a few hours, my mental horizon widened, and there were no more familiar landmarks, such as my chair or the stereo, and if it was even playing, I no longer heard it. So at that point in the work, nothing is holding me back from my journey, and imagination rubbing dry pigments with the palms of both hands. That really is the story of how I have created all these paintings.
This is the largest pastel, 8 feet by 4 feet.
Yes, indeed, this is my homage to O'Keeffe. I conceived it traveling in the outback of Australia during my Australian sojourn. And there I found new landscapes to inspire my harmony with nature.
This is featured in your Radiant Energy catalog of the exhibition and Instagram. That's our report. I'm Nicole Mezzasalma, and
Mym Tuma.
And we love Mother Nature, we love Mother Teresa, and we love our own mothers. Each are so important in their own right.
And O'Keeffe was the mother of art.
Maternal energy is a crucial complementary element to the destructive energy we often see in the world.
Yes, and we women are responsible for the peace.
Thank you for listening to Finding Peace in the Pandemic.